Hey guys, I'm Kalila Reynolds and I'm back with another episode of What's in It for Me, brought to you in partnership with the Ministry of Finance. Now this week I want to follow up on the first episode where I spoke about the exchange rate and inflation because I got quite a few comments and questions about it. And indeed, I didn't get to cover everything that I wanted to talk about. So some of you are still skeptical about this whole floating exchange rate thing. And one of the comments read, I just paid $30,000 more for something because of the hike in the exchange rate. And I understand that's a legitimate concern. I've been skeptical for some time too. And that's the same issue that the manufacturers and others, including some of you and even myself, have had. Now, one day something they're trying to bring in is one price, and then the next day the price change. Of course, when the price goes down, nobody complains, and it inevitably does go back down. In this new regime over the past 2 years, the price of US dollars has been going both ways, both up and down. And because of that, you always have a choice. If you follow the market, one option open to you is to wait until the dollar comes back down to do most of your purchasing. But you have to be aware of what's going on. These opportunities to save money will miss you if you aren't paying attention. Remember, few months ago, I spoke about saving money on a new car by waiting for the exchange rate to go down. And of course, there will be times when you need something urgently, and you can't necessarily wait until the dollar comes back down. And I know it sucks when you have to pay more for something, but that still doesn't mean the system is bad or is to blame. The price of the dollar is determined by supply and demand. When demand is high, the price goes up. And what's been happening lately a lot is that companies and people are realizing that because of the fluctuations in the price of the US dollar, it's no longer profitable to have loans in US dollars or to save in US dollars. So a lot of big businesses have been switching out their US dollar debt to Jamaican dollar debt. And how they do that is by buying a large amount of US dollars to pay off their US dollar debt. Then they take out a new loan in Jamaican dollars. But when they buy that large amount of US dollars, because our market is so small, they're using up a lot of the US dollars available on the entire market for that particular day. And that can impact the whole value of the dollar actually for several days. So the good thing is you can still get dollars, just that it's going to be more expensive during that time. Now there are other factors at play too, but you get the point: supply and demand. Now there have been people who've been advocating for a fixed exchange rate. You've probably heard this for some time. But one of the downsides of having a fixed exchange rate is that there may be times when you can't get US dollars at all. How authorities manage high demand in times when supply is low under that system is they just stop selling dollars for a while. So which situation is preferable? Being able to get, but at a high price, or not being able to get at all? Under fixed exchange rate regimes, if your economy can't sustain it, that is, if you're not earning substantially more US dollars than you're spending, then you're going to run into problems. And so what those countries do, apart from occasionally making dollars unavailable, is implement strict controls on the amount that can be bought on any particular day, which can make it very difficult to get. Again, I spoke about this in my presentation at the Ministry of Finance's Foreign Exchange Forum, and you can watch the full video of that, the full presentation, on my YouTube channel. I'm actually from a country with a fixed exchange rate, and while it's great to say that your exchange rate is 2 to 1 and to have that price certainty, there's also a downside because availability is not certain. And I will say this too, I know another major issue is around that price certainty. It's difficult to plan when you don't know how much US dollars are gonna cost on any given day. If you end up buying when price is high and by the time your goods arrive, price is low, you could lose money. And that's why the authorities have been encouraging businesses to do some more forward planning, to have forward contracts with suppliers and lock in prices where possible. The BOJ has also been getting better in, I'd say, the last year in communicating with both businesses and the public. For example, they started publishing all purchases of $100,000 or more so that you can clearly see when there's a spike in demand. They've also been intervening in a more timely manner by making more US dollars available when demand is high. And I'm not just saying that because this feature is sponsored by the Ministry of Finance. These are things that I've actually observed in tracking the market for the past couple of years, ever since the BOJ introduced their foreign exchange intervention and trading tool, BFIXIT, and this two-way movement began. I've been following it closely. So we come to the big question. What's in it for me? Well, this exchange rate system ensures that you can always easily get US dollars, even though you may sometimes have to pay a higher price. Now, the finance minister also said at the same FX symposium that if we continue along this path, the country will, in about 5 years, be able to borrow internationally in Jamaican dollars rather than US dollars, which poses its own set of benefits. Before I go though, I just want to say for the record, my views in this segment won't always necessarily align with the government's or the Ministry of Finance's. I'm not a paid spokesperson for the Ministry of Finance. My role is to break down certain concepts for the public's understanding. So those of you who have followed Money Mondays, for example, from the beginning will remember that I used to talk a lot about broader economic issues, such as breaking down the new tax packages, the impact of the exchange rate when buying a new car. Just that Money Mondays ended up taking a more narrow focus on investments. So I'm pleased now to have this opportunity to still talk about some of those broad economic issues again. And there will be times when I have concerns or when certain things need clarity. The Ministry of Finance has committed to providing guests for me to interview in this feature, and you will hear my usual objective questions. Anyway, I'm Kalila Reynolds. That's it for What's in It for Me, brought to you in partnership with the Ministry of Finance. Until next time.